The question, why are humans stupid, has always bothered me. That an individual would engage in belittling activities for follows and likes, like a man shaking his ass on TikTok or whatever platform. Now you might sit down there and go, well, it's a norm. Every single person is doing it. But my friend, you forget that we as humans are moral beings. We can detect right from wrong emotionally. We don't need this rule. We don't need a rule book to identify right from wrong. It's for the same reason when you walk into a room that you've previously been gossiped about, you know the energy is different, although the individuals try to be nice and kind, but the atmosphere is incongruent with that mask. And after 5 minutes, friends, I need to be somewhere else. I'll catch you guys later. And you would bounce. So we as humans are moral beings. If you kill a man, once the court case is over and you're vindicated, part of you will go, I just killed someone. Well, it was an act of self-defense. So, no. I just killed someone. Now, this has nothing to do with stoicism, or this has nothing to do with confidence. This has nothing with keeping your emotion under check. This is something that's ingrained in our subconscious. As a human, you can detect right from wrong. If you take something that doesn't belong to you, it is wrong. You stole. Whether the consciousness of that, uh, excuse me, whether the consciousness of that rule would keep you from stealing is a different discourse in and of itself. But the point we are trying to establish is it's wrong. So we've highlighted the point that you shaking your ass on TikTok and engaging in debilitating activities is wrong. You know it as well as I do. As a consequence, once you're done and you hit stop on that camera, you feel like shit. Once you're done doing the monkey dance, you feel like a fool. Once you traverse the hallway of your school or your apartment or every single place where people are aware of your degeneracy, you feel very uneasy. You feel very uneasy in that environment. So degeneracy, or before I move on, let me quickly tie your degeneracy to lack of identity, because I believe life is cause and effect. I refuse to see life as isolated incidents. There are consequences for every single decision. So there are decisions that set up that chain reaction of events. Your life is like a chain reaction, a reaction as a result of the previous step leading into progressive manner. So if you engage in degeneracy, if you do something that doesn't connote to hard work, struggle, pain, success, it's most likely you would spiral downwards. Because my friend, we live in an age of infinite leverage. Your success, your achievements, your efforts can be multiplied by 1,000-fold. For instance, this video I'm recording, I need not to do it again. It will be watched by millions of people, by extension spreading the information millions of times without having to be there physically. To disseminate information 40 to 50 years ago, I would have to do lectures, I would have to host seminars, which are not as efficient as this, in the sense that you cannot watch it back, plus it's linked to your time, you have to appear multiple times, and There are situations, and if you're a very intelligent individual, you know most of your communication is fluent. It comes from the heart, especially if you're like me, who rarely scripts things. So turning on the camera is as a result of my experience, is as a result of the various knowledge I have accumulated on that subject. So imagine the analogies I would give in lecture A would vary from lecture B. You see how my actions has been multiplied by 1,000-fold. Let's take code. Code, you can create a website like Bezos, and now your efforts, your 5 to 6 years of dedication in one company can buy you a lifetime of freedom. Including investment, this principle is consistent across all areas of life. If a hedge fund manager returns 80%, hedge fund manager B returns 82%, who are you investing with? Exactly. So as minuscule as 2% might sound, it creates the difference. It is the difference. Millions of dollars will be held at manager B because of that tiny percentage in return. Athletes as well. The first person the first person can win by centimeters, whereas the results are vastly disproportional. Gold is very different from silver. So your results can be multiplied by 1,000 folds. This is the age and era we live in. However, the counterpart is also as equally as probable. If you begin jerking off, it most likely leads you to pornography. In pornographic websites, you are introduced into gambling. You start gambling, the association change, the course, the trajectory of your life changes as well. Once the trajectory of your life is heading towards destruction, you yourself will follow suit. Now your life has been altered and spiraled downward as a result of one wrong step. That's the kind of age and generation we are in. That every single thing you do matter, down to the kind of content you consume, the kind of ads, the kind of shots you see. You watch a shot, the lady's indecently dressed. It stimulates you to consume some kind of adult rated movie. That adult rated movie is just a prelude to the final destination. Yes, to the orange website, which is the problem with most of you. Majority, instead of going directly to the website, they make it progressive. Naked ladies shorts or people dressed half naked on TikTok, then interesting movies. Next, perhaps, I don't want to go into all of this, but you get the point. You get the point. So degeneracy most times is associated with your identity, lack of identity. Majority of you sitting here have no idea who you are. Majority follow the bandwagon, whatever is trending, that's where you are. Because you always want to be affiliated with some kind of community, some kind of association. And in order to be part of an association, your belief system has to be consistent. So you conform. When you conform, you get accepted. Now the opposite will be isolation. Isolation is what most people dread. In fact, we as humans are not created to be isolated, especially for a long enough period of time. That's why individuals who deliberately impose isolation upon themselves are usually adorned with medals, usually revered, usually celebrated worldwide. because they did something remarkable. They sacrificed for a defined goal. They sacrificed for a determined achievement. So when you feel the urge to seek companionship, when you feel the urge to seek out people, the first thing I want you to understand is it's normal. You're not weird for trying to be with people. You're not weird for trying to have other people around you. It's normal. It's a normal instinct. However, what separates winners from losers is the ability to control that instinct, the ability to deliberately impose suffering upon themselves. I remember the analogy I gave you initially, that your actions and your results can be vastly disproportionate because of the age of infinite leverage you reside in. So what used to make people acceptable is now what is celebrated. If every single person is degenerate, if every single person cannot delay gratification, wants to buy luxury they cannot afford, just spiraling downwards into hedonism. And you, my friend, are a little bit better. You're not 90% better, you're just a little bit better. 2%, you're off. In the similitude of that hedge fund manager, you are off. You would maul your competitors just by that small increase in probability. So, my friends, come down from the bandwagon, head into loser view. Find your identity. Find who you are as a person. Find what makes you tick, what makes you special. If you identify at any point in time having people is not something you want to do, or socializing and rubbing elbows with people, it doesn't mean you're weird. It doesn't mean you're somehow out of this universe or people can't relate with you. It just means you're special. You are unique. You have a higher purpose. In fact, the universe is deliberately imposing isolation upon you, affording the space for focus. That's all it is. I got to a point in my life where I no longer found women interesting because at the infancy of my career, while I wanted to be a success, while I wanted all of this money, it's for unlimited sexual access. But as you begin to climb the ladder of success, your priorities change. That reprioritization is proof of growth. Another thing you would notice is once you achieve the success you desire, and those things you once gravitated to are no longer appealing, you still deliberately want to force yourself in the opposite direction. For instance, me, who no longer gives a shit about women, do not care about their presence, do not find intimacy that interesting. I deliberately impose it upon myself as a reward for climbing this high of the success ladder. That's just a path to degeneracy in and of itself. So my friends, find your identity, find your purpose. And if that's something you struggle with, there are videos that will be linked at the end of this one. And as always, my friends, it's a pleasure speaking to you. See you well.